Outside Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network. My name is Liam Jenkins. Welcome to the show. The Eagles are in London and so am I. I cannot wait for the game tomorrow evening. But you know what? If you're a regular listener of this show, you'll know I didn't get press passes. Alright, so I'm at this game. For one day, for one 24-hour period, I'm going to be a total fan. Forget work, forget everything else, and just be one of you lot for one day. And then I'll go back to the grind afterwards. But I couldn't leave it all at the door, right? I couldn't, I'm not going to take that lightly. I'm not going to take not getting press passes just down easily, right? You think I'm going to come to London and not give you guys something special? Then I'm not going to go above and beyond and try and find, I guess, bigger and badder than the last one? Now, a couple shows ago, we had Kyle Brandt on from the NFL Network, and he was fantastic. But today, I went out and found someone a little bit bigger. But before we get to that, before we get on to today's guest and today's show, I thought instead of talking about the game itself, which I do with our guest, and talking about the same things we have for quite some time now, about this Jags defense who without cornerbacks, or about Blake Bortles in London, or the Eagles and the trade, like it's the same stories by this point, we all know it. I thought I'd tell you about the Eagles fans in London. Now, as you can tell, I'm actually recording this from my hotel room. That's why the sounds are very echoey. But if you are new around here, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you stick around. This show has blown up recently. I cannot thank you enough for your support. If you are new, that subscribe button means the world to us. It means we can keep doing what we're doing. It means that you guys get this content instantly for free. So make sure you do that on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. But I got to London at around 2:30 p.m. yesterday. So I got in. I live 5 hours away, so I got on a coach. The first thing I see, I reckon within about 7 minutes of getting to London and going to Victoria train station, a pair of Eagles fans straight away. Straight away. And by this point, I think I was a little bit too nervous to start just shouting, "Go Birds," or to get their attentions. But I thought, if this is what I'm seeing now, Victoria is not central London, what's it going to be like in London at an Eagles bar? So I got to Starbucks. I did that typical Liam thing. We have a coffee, you do some work. Met a really interesting person there, actually. He was a TV director. We had a chat in some strange things she was directing about. It's a different matter, right? A different discussion. But I leave Starbucks. I go back to my hotel. I get my articles written up. And I go back into central London. And I swear, I've seen 3 Jags fans at most with snapbacks on. I've not seen a single Jags jersey yet. You could not turn a corner without hearing an echo of an Eagles chant, without seeing a jersey, without seeing a hat. And then you get closer to the Eagles bar, which, if you are in London, is the Admiralty. It's the place that's the official Eagles bar. And I've never seen an atmosphere like it. Ever. It was absolutely remarkable. Fans were singing. I mean, to put it bluntly, I went out last night with the intention of trying to mingle with as many people as possible, meet as many Eagles fans as I can for a story, and to just see how they're doing, see how they're enjoying the weekend, and potentially make some new contacts, maybe draw some new people to Philly Sports Network who wouldn't normally read or watch what I do. I barely paid for a drink that night, and it wasn't by choice. I didn't go out with the intention of getting free stuff. Like, I think it's British in the way where I don't like accepting gifts off people. I don't like saying yes when people offer me things. I'm very difficult. Like, if you're going to offer to buy me something, you better have a 60-page argument, because I won't accept it. But it felt like you were family. In that one tiny room that was filled with, I reckon, about 300-400 people, it felt like you were part of something. It didn't matter I wasn't in an Eagles jersey, didn't matter about anything else, that you were. The minute you open your mouth, you start talking about the Eagles, you just end up in a completely different universe where everyone wants to buy everyone drinks. There are chants all night long. You've got plush footballs and scarves and swoop and cheerleaders. It was a party. It was a non-stop Eagles party. Fans from Germany, from England, from America. There was a great fan that I referenced in my article today that was a teacher in Washington. She had 2 days of holiday left this year. And instead of using them at Christmas or any of the holiday periods, took a day on Friday and a day on Monday so she can get to London for the game. This dedication of fans, even in a losing season when they're 3-4, blows my mind. And I've met some familiar faces, guys on Twitter who I talked to, we've met up. I mean, classic Jeff, for anyone that is big on Eagles Twitter. Had a lovely chat with him and his wife. I kind of embarked on that dinner, I think, by accident, but we were at a great bar. Again, had to reluctantly accept drinks, but I did teach him a few football chants, so there was that. So, my initial impression is that this won't be a home game for the Jags after all. Scrap what I said last week. I really think this could be an Eagles-orientated crowd. I've never seen this many Eagles fans in one place. I did not think this many would come over. They are everywhere. They're littered throughout London. Like, you cannot bat an eyelid without seeing an Eagles fan. It's insane. It's the only way I can put it. But safe to say, I woke up with a heavy head this morning. It was a little bit spinny. I drank way too much. I wasn't planning on it. The actual plan for that night was I was going to interview Hollis Thomas at his hotel. And I think Hollis Thomas was doing Hollis Thomas things, which is understandable when he's in London. So, what we did instead today was I went to the Green Legion. And those guys run some fantastic tailgates. I'm sure some of them are going to be very familiar to you. Maybe you've been to a few of them. Maybe you're at the one today. But I featured on their show when Hollis Thomas was there. And he was sat on this throne, like in the bar. It was the weirdest thing. He was just sat on a throne in the bar, like signing autographs and kissing girls and having a whale of a time. He drank like 2 bottles of Johnny Walker Black, which, I mean, let's be honest, I get drunk after 2 beers. Like, that is some next level drinking. But I think, we were going to arrange an interview and unfortunately it didn't happen. He was very soaked up in the moment. I don't blame him. So I make my way downtown, walking fast. Right, anyway, get to London and I sort out the cheesesteak bar that everyone's talking about. Everyone's talking about this Passyunk Avenue. It's new, it's emerging, it's like a cultural hub for Philly. There was a line of Eagles fans outside that venue queuing for a cheesesteak. Like, it was a line like it was a clothing release or a video game release. You'd think it was Friday for Red Dead Redemption 2. London is being dominated by Eagles fans. There are bars for tailgates like the Green Legion one that are literally packed with different strands of Eagles fans from all over the world. This isn't just a game anymore. This isn't a neutral venue. I don't even think it's a Jags venue. The only other attribute I can think of is that Jags fans, because most of them are going to be British, Jacksonville itself is quite a transient market. It's in Florida. People go in Florida to holiday. It's not a city like a New York or a Philly or a Boston or, to an extent, a Pittsburgh, which is the same vein, or a Seattle or a Denver. It's a transient market. So the only thing I can think of is that, English Jags fans aren't going to walk around in their jerseys because it's a bit premature. We don't like to make deals out of things in England. We keep it all very low-key until the last minute. We're not going to parade around and stuff. So unless Wembley gets filled tomorrow with all of those Eagles fans who are going to jump out, or Jags fans I should say, who are going to jump out last second, then I can see this being a neutral to an Eagles-leaning field, which blows my mind. Like, the love that I've felt from this fan base over the last 24 hours is insane. And there have been people that I've met that have never heard of me, that have tried to talk me down, and I've ended up, trying to put them in their place for some flexing of knowledge, and we can go into cover 2 shells if they really want to. And then there are the guys that have actually listened to my stuff. There's a fantastic podcast for the British and Irish Eagles fans. They have been doing some great work this year, and they were there. They were at the bar last night. So if you're in London, get yourself to the Admiralty tonight. There's going to be a lot of fans there. But what an environment London is right now. It feels so surreal. Like, I go to London a lot, but this feels different. This feels magical. And I had to talk about it because Eagles fans have made me feel absolutely hungover as well as welcome. It's just insane. I wanted to say a massive thank you. If I have met any of you guys last night, thank you so much, because you made me feel incredibly welcome. You made a lot of fans feel welcome. There were British fans there who said they've waited 30 years for this day. There are other fans that have made the trip that needed a family holiday, or it's come at a good time in their life. It's much more about culture than it is, about football. And that was my biggest takeaway from the last couple of days. I wasn't able to attend the practices or see the press conferences, but the way the Eagles fans have taken over London, it's not just a phrase that, the Eagles fans have taken over London because there's one man by Buckingham Palace. This is oh my God, this place, you cannot turn a corner without seeing an Eagles fan. Alright, so this is a complete wild card. Midway through my podcast, I went downstairs to go and get my pizza because I'm starving. And notice an Eagles fan on the floor below me with a cap on, he's got a shirt on. And I thought, you know what? Let's just shake it up a bit. Let's have a fan on the podcast. We can talk birds. Let's see what's going on. Thoughts ahead of tomorrow's game. Shelby from Arizona. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Great. Love to be here.
When did you get to London then?
We got in last night.
Last night?
Yes, sir.
Are you tired? Bit jet lagged? Or?
Very much so.
It's one of those nights. So how long are you here for?
We're here until Sunday. Sunday night we're going to leave.
Wow.
And then we're headed to Paris.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you get a nice little weekend out of it then?
Yes.
Hopefully it ends on a good note then with the Eagles. You know, they can get all romantic in Paris and not, dwelling on a loss or anything.
Right.
It's cool. So let's talk Eagles then. So we spoke briefly downstairs and you said that you're an Eagles fan living in Arizona. How long have you been an Eagles fan for?
All my life.
All your life?
All my life.
So like highs, lows?
49 years.
So I guess the last 12 months has been quite a roller coaster, right?
Very much so. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, I guess we go from the heights of the Super Bowl to where we are now. What's that been like? So the 3-4 start, the season's not gone too well for the team. What are you expecting coming into this game?
I'm expecting a win. I'm expecting for us to start off very well and finish this season off like we should. We started off slow. We got our starting quarterback, Wentz, back. So it's time for a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have it just out of interest as well, being in Arizona? Was there ever like a weird, wherever the teams have played, like the Arizona and the Eagles, have you ever had that kind of, well, should I support Arizona or is it?
Actually, in Arizona, I'm a season ticket holder.
Okay.
And the reason why I became a season ticket holder is to see Philly
Wow.
every year because they were in the same division. But, of course, they went to the other division.
Yeah.
And no longer am I able to see the Eagles like I want to, so I have to come all the way here in London.
Have you been to Cardinals games this year then?
Yes.
So you saw Sam Bradford?
yes, I have.
What are your opinions on that whole thing? Because that was quite a wobbly few years, let's say, to say the least.
Well, I think they shouldn't have never got Sam Bradford because he's not a decent quarterback. I mean, he's been with several different teams.
Yeah.
As you know, he's been with the Eagles, and we got rid of him. So I think that was a bad choice for the Cardinals.
But hey, I mean, the Eagles with Carson Wentz out of it, right? That was that's a good
Right,
start.
yes.
So what have you made from Carson Wentz over? As someone that's supported this team for so long, to see some of the great quarterbacks like Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, obviously Donovan McNabb, where does Wentz rank in his first few years?
I believe he ranks right up there with him. He's a young quarterback. He's just getting started in our league, so we got to give him time. He did take us to the Super Bowl. Foles finished it off for us, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback to come.
Absolutely. And now the Eagles are in a bit of a weird spot as well, because they know, I guess, the Carson Wentz payday is coming at some point in the next few years. There's the backloaded salaries of all of the big players like Ertz and Lane Johnson and Malcolm Jenkins. And now we're at this weird spot where half the fan base want to trade, half the fan base don't. You've got the Le'Veon Bell rumours swirling. The team are 3-4. If you're a general manager of this team, are you going to make a move at this point? Or is it just kind of let the pieces sit there and have the season out and then move on?
Time to make a move.
Yeah?
Time to make a move. He's our quarterback.
Is there a player that you've got your eye on? Like if you're a GM, you'd go after right now?
Bell.
Yeah? Okay, right, let's have a discussion. Right, okay. It's weird. So I've been very anti-Le'Veon Bell. And the reason for it, I'll hear your counter to this, okay? So it's going to be roughly like a 7-week rental, right? So it's going to cost them $9 million in cap space if they bring him in. Right. You've then got, obviously you've got a bye week, which definitely helps if they were to do it. But if you think back to Jay Ajayi, it took him about 4 or 5 games to properly get his teeth into that offense and become the lead back. It was still very much LeGarrette Blount's backfield until Ajayi then picked up the slack. If you do that with Bell, the risk you're taking is that by the time he's like at his best, so to speak, because we don't know what sort of form he's in. He's been out of the game for like nearly a year, I suppose, obviously, if he's not been in full action. Right. So by the time he's fully acclimated with that team, if you drop one more game, if the Eagles lose another game like they have to Tennessee or like they did to Carolina, you're paying $9 million for a guy that the impact he'd make by them may not be substantial enough to turn that season around. because there's been already so much lost, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my concern doing it. But as a fan, I mean, what was your... Is he the game changer that could change that season? Like, regardless of that time?
I believe so.
Yeah?
I believe he is, because we need that serious running attack, just like Blunt did for us. I mean, we need that third down back, and we don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been the big thing of the season, is that the Eagles rushing attackers, it feels like 2016 again.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. Like, you've got Ryan Matthews, who 1 minute's a goal line back, next minute he's your starter.
Right.
You know, you've got Wendell Smallwood, who then broke out against the Steelers, then did nothing. And then you've got this season, where Corey Clement looks a little bit just off, in my opinion. Like, he's not running like he was last year. Ajayi's down. Sproles is still down with that hammy injury.
Mm-hmm.
The backfield at its minimum. Josh Adams is now looking to be a guy, which is an undrafted player who has, again, battled injuries, difficult.
Right.
It's tough. Like, but if you're Doug Peterson, what do you do? Like, if you're not going to make a trade, can you get by with just those backs?
I don't think you can.
No?
No, I think you have to do something, because we need that running attack to let Wentz do what he needs to do, and that's hit our receivers like we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a strange season. I mean, let's talk about defense for a second as well, because obviously that's been a...
great. great as far as the running game.
Yeah.
Now, our cornerbacks are...
I knew this would come up. So... I'm just wondering. I mean, like, I'm trying to like half battle eating pizza here as well, a little bit. Feel free to have a slice if you want. By the way,
go ahead.
You sure?
Sure.
Oh, it smells nice.
Looks great.
I don't know. Cornerback play this year has been a little bit weird. Like Jalen Mills is being burned every game, biting on double moves. We're seeing it with Darby as well. The one thing I'm not understanding is where Rasul Douglas is factoring in, because you know he was a 3rd round pick, was good in his rookie year filling in for Darby. You then lose Sidney Jones, you need a nickel corner. You lose 2 safeties, and you drop him in Atlanta, he gets an interception. Then a couple games later, he sort of rotates around a little bit. But now you bring up Dexter McDougal from the practice squad. Now you sign him off the street, and he starts the next week. And then they've elevated another corner. That's a guy, to me, that just looks out of the picture. And it feels like he could be dealt in a trade. It feels like they're trying to work out, should they bring in a corner or not. But... just what's going on with this cornerback group right now? Because it's not what it was a year ago.
It isn't, and I think, honestly, they just need time to develop. I think with Wentz being out and the way the wins and losses have been happening, I think they're a little bit shaky. I think over time, I think they'll do their job.
It's getting there. I think a lot of it is going to be... depending on what the pass rush do as well. Like, we're seeing that offenses are moving the ball a lot faster. So that obviously, basic math is that if you have the ball in your hand less, Fletcher Cox can't hit you because the ball's gone. So they're doing that to try and get around it. But because the corners play so far away from the ball, that they're getting underneath, right?
Right, yes.
Which is fine. But then you see this thing against Carolina, where late in the game they're down 17. Instead, like, the Eagles are anticipating them going deep to try and make up all those yards and get all the points. Cam just does what Cam does, throws it underneath, chips it, gets it all back. Right. And it feels like a little bit could be... I don't want to put Jim Schwartz on a hot seat or anything, but it's certainly a lack of like adjustment, I would say, in that game. But on another note, just it was... I know it was a bit of a weird call, like running downstairs, meeting you, but like, oh, okay, do you want to come on a podcast? Like, having never spoke to you in my life. But I knew the minute you saw an Eagles hat on, there's no such thing as like a casual Eagles fan. Right? Like, we're talking some, like, serious depth that you'd see on, like, a national TV network or radio. And, like, the fans just get it. And that's what I really like. So, yeah, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to catch you off guard, but you're doing, like, an amazing job. Like, just come on, out of the blue, jet lag, like, British kids got up with pizza going, do you want to come on a podcast? And you've come up. But, I mean, like, what do you think of the defense overall?
I think the defense is good. I think they're handling their job well, with Fletcher Cox doing his job, Bennett coming in. I mean, they're handling it very well. I think it's going to take them time to get to know each other and play well together with each other. But I think our defense is going to be fine. How
much have injuries hurt this team, do you think? Because obviously they had a lot last year. And it felt like last year that...
they're hurting us now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we are 3-4. So, I mean, once we get the injuries taken care of. I think after this game here, we'll be on a roll.
So what are your season predictions from this moment on? So before we think about tomorrow, is this still a playoff team in your eyes?
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
All right, so looking towards Jacksonville then. This is the game tomorrow where, I don't know how much have you seen of London so far? Has it just been kind of just resting
I've seen
a little bit?
I've seen a little bit.
Have you seen many Eagles fans?
A lot.
This is what I was saying earlier in the show.
I see Eagles fans everywhere.
And it's blown my mind because London is traditionally a Jacksonville home game.
Really?
Yeah, because the Jags have been stuffed down our throats to keep saying this on the show, but for so long now that you've almost kind of had to adopt them. It's like an ugly puppy. Like, it's in your house. Oh, gotta look after it, I guess. And you start loving it.
Well, I think Jacksonville has been here quite a bit also.
Absolutely. So I was expecting a lot of Jags fans, a lot of jerseys, a lot of snapbacks. All I'm hearing is Eagles chants everywhere. I was at the Eagles pub last night, and I swear, like, it was ridiculous. It was such a family atmosphere where everyone's buying everyone drinks, everyone's looking out for one another. I did not see a single Jags fan all night, and I was in central London, drunk, walking around for like ages, not a single jersey, single hat, anything. It was all Eagles.
It was. Actually, I did see a couple spittered here and there.
Yeah.
But we kicked them out real fast.
Just sent them packing. So if you take that, I mean, the big thing with this Jags team is in their last 3 games in London, they've won them all. All right? And then they blew out the Ravens last year, like 44-7. What do you do against London Bortles? Is it just going to be if we can take that homish game away, like if we can get really aggressive as fans and start kind of make it uncomfortable? Because they're not going to expect that. They're thinking it's the Jags, it's neutral, like the fans are going to love them. If it's quite opposite, and it's the Eagles fans that are the more vocal, is that enough to kind of turn the tide of a game and give that defense some energy?
I believe so. The home field advantage helps a lot. I believe so. Yeah.
What would you say as well then, as someone that, as you say, is an Arizona Cardinals season ticket holder, what's the difference in the vibe between stadiums, between how an Arizona fan base would approach a game and how an Eagles fan base would?
You're saying, say that again?
So what's like the atmosphere like on game day, like in a stadium? What's the difference between the Cardinals fan base and the Eagles fan base, let's say?
They're the same. I believe they're the same. Yeah. I mean, football is a sport that I believe brings a lot of people together.
Hey, look at us, right?
Right. So I believe it's the same. I mean, fan base.
Yeah. It's been a crazy season as well. So before, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you've got a lot to do anyway. But in like a broader sense of the NFL, has there been any big surprises to you this season that you kind of gone, wow, I didn't see that coming?
Just the changes of the rules.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
They have been, really, really picky on some of the hits and stuff like that. So I didn't see it being that much of an impact as far as it is on the game.
Yeah, I think preseason was quite eye-opening. We saw a lot of it in preseason. We were like, oh, is this how it's going to go?
Right.
And I think that woke a lot of the maybe officials up to, all right, we can't have a season like that. But then you see the Clay Matthews thing happening over and over again.
Yes.
And it's heartbreaking. Like, it's taking that edge off.
Right.
And as a defense now, like, what can you do? Like, if you're trying to get a pass rush to a quarterback, if you just lift him up and just gently put him down and then, like, hope for the best, it's like, what do you do if you're a lineman at this point? Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? They have to do something. I mean, football is a physical sport.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, as far as laying them down, no, that's not going to happen. They have to figure out something in order, of course, to protect the players. But as far as the hits, I just think they have to do something.
I guess as someone as well that's seen the game for as long as you have, and to see it go through as many changes.
Right.
Where does this kind of align with some of the bigger changes in the league? Is this one of the ones that's hurt it more?
This one is, yes. Yeah? Yes, it's hurting it a lot.
It's horrible. All right, so in terms of tomorrow, then we'll get back onto Eagles Jags. What are you expecting from an atmosphere perspective? from like just being in Wembley and obviously totally different venue for yourself?
Oh,
like
man,
very new.
a exciting experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna be fun. Like I've never been to Wembley either.
I
believe it or
haven't.
not. So it's like I know there's a lot of history at that place in terms of English fans.
Right.
But this is something where we're seeing a lot more now. Like I think NFL in England is growing like really quickly.
Really.
And we're seeing that, like, it used to be a few years ago, teams had come over, and as English fans, we sing a lot and we chant. And with NFL, it's different. You're trying to, like, throw the offense off guard, make a lot of noise, right? We didn't know how to do that. So, like, if you don't have a team affiliation and you're just there to watch it, you're just silent. And you're like, do we cheer now? Is that good? Is it bad? So you'd have these awkwardly quiet stadiums. But now we're seeing this really amped up, fired up atmosphere. It's going to feel like a proper game, like a proper NFL game, I think. And that's what I'm most excited to see. That it's not going to feel like an exhibition or like a practice game. It feels like this means something. And both teams are desperate as well. Like the Jags aren't exactly having the field day of dreams, are they?
No.
So what have you made of this Jags team so far? Because, I mean, they almost got it done in the playoffs last year. They were that far away.
Yes, they were close. But we did what we needed to do. And that was win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's it. The rest doesn't matter now.
Doesn't matter at all. We got our ring.
So tell me about Super Bowl night then for you. How was that spent?
How's the Super Bowl been?
Yeah, so what were you doing that night? Were you like with your family or friends? Or?
Actually, I was in Maine with my brother.
Okay.
And I went there because of Patriots country. And me being an Eagles fan, I wanted to go to Maine and give them havoc of, the Super Bowl.
So you're in Patriots country. The Eagles win in the most incredible fashion possible. Was it a dead silent room except for you going crazy? Or was everyone giving you funny looks? Or was it
Well, actually, it was dead silence because I was outside doing snow angels.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Oh, incredible. Okay, so score prediction for tomorrow's game. What are we saying?
Win.
Just a
score?
Win. Yeah, just score prediction.
24-7.
Yeah?
I think our defense is going to shut them down.
Do you know what? I can't even fault it at this point as well. This is like a big game for them. But listen, Shelby, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, listening to me eat pizza and talk Eagles with you.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Alrighty, thank you.
Well, there we go. We've now had a complete change of course in this podcast, and that was the most surreal experience. I literally went downstairs to get my pizza, met an Eagles fan, and I was like, hey, let's have an interview. So Shelby, great guy, massive thanks to him for coming on, literally staying on the floor below me. But now we're going to get to the big interview. This is, I shot my shot. It's 2018. I was outside a very, very Philly-related place earlier on, and I bumped into a man iced out in an Eagles tracksuit, a World Championship ring. I'm talking about none other than broadcaster Howard Eskin, who's garnered quite the reputation over the last 10 years or so as being one of the Eagles' most noted voices surrounding the team. So this is my chat with Howard Eskin about all things Eagles and Jaguars for tomorrow's game. Outside Passyunk Avenue, so a bar that has become, I guess, somewhat of a symbol with this Eagles game so far.
Royalty.
Oh, well, I was going to try to build up a little bit. Yeah, this man is the king. Howard Eskin. He's iced out. He's got an Eagles Union Jack shirt, which only the players got, right? And now he's got the Super Bowl World Championship ring, looking like $1 million. How are you feeling in London right now?
I feel great.
Yeah.
It'll be nicer for everybody when the Eagles win. Seriously, it's an important game. But yeah, I feel great.
So, I mean, is this your first time in London?
The last time that other than passing through the airport that I was here is twice when the Eagles played preseason games in 89 and 91.
Wow, so a lot's changed since then, I guess, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, the one thing I've always thought was that the Jags have been stuffed down our throats for so long that they've kind of been forced into being the home team for the UK fans. We've barely seen any Jags fans. All I'm hearing is Eagles chants echo through London. We're seeing a line behind us queued outside. What are you making of this as someone that covers this team and knows they travel so well?
Eagles fans probably travel as well as anyone in the NFL. Everywhere they go, whether it's Los Angeles, a little further, London, it will sound like I think it will sound like an Eagles crowd.
100%.
Yes.
Have you spoke to many UK fans yet?
I don't know who they are, other than I see them, but there are people that say, are the Eagles playing on Sunday because they see people wearing Eagles jerseys? They know that, and the pronunciation here is Jaguars.
Yes, I'm getting used to that. It's different. I'm going to keep
it's
saying
not Jaguars.
Yeah.
It's Jaguars. I guess that's the way they pronounce the automobile's name. So, but other than that, I haven't seen many Jacksonville fans, but I've seen a ton of Eagles fans.
Absolutely. We've got to talk a little bit about the team as well, because obviously, as you said, this is a very big game. There's been a lot of speculation about trade. In my opinion, I think if the Eagles drop this game, the case for a trade goes out the window, because at that point, there's not much left to fight. But from your experience, what have you seen over the last couple of weeks? There's so much noise going around. What's the king hearing right now?
I don't think they will trade for an upper-level running back. They may get a back, but you can't give up that many draft picks, so they're not going to get the top echelon.
Yeah.
Defensive backs, it was fake news about Patrick Peterson, the Cardinals D-back. So I think they'll get a mid-level guy, a mid-level player to fill a roster spot, so they don't have to use that many draft picks in trade. They need the draft picks for next year.
We've got to talk about, I think, the cornerbacks as well. There's been a lot of flaming around Jalen Milton, Ronald Darby. There's one player that's constantly under the radar here, and that's Rasul Douglas. Now, obviously, last week, you had Dexter McDougal starting at nickel cornerback. Douglas is left on the sidelines. Now Chandon Sullivan's promoted from the practice squad. What is the future looking like for Rasul Douglas? Is there more to this than meets the eye?
I think they feel he's more of a corner than a safety. So they feel he's more of a corner than a safety, and with that, they rather have other guys at safety. Now remember, when Sidney Jones comes back, then you don't have all these dynamics because you have to fill that role as the slot defensive back. So there's a lot of things that play into it, and injuries have been a part of it as well.
100%. There's been a flurry of them, and we can talk about, now when guys are coming back. Timmy Jernigan, as you said, Sidney Jones. There's a few of these guys, Darren Sproles included, that could be making their return soon.
Right.
Are those the difference makers that this team needs right now?
Well, Darren Sproles would help at the running back. Not that he'd be so much a running back with a lot of carries, but he's really good moving him out as a receiver in the slot position, moving him out there, and he's in open space, he's really unbelievable. But he's got to get back on the field, and obviously the hamstring injury was more severe than most people thought it would be. So there's no question that he will help. Injuries always hurt, but they overcame him last year, so they can't use that as excuses. But those clearly are factors.
What have you made about this team so far as well? There's been 2 very heavy losses, a lot of one-possession losses as well. Is this the dreaded Super Bowl hangover? Is it complacency? What's going on with this team?
I don't think they're complacent, but there was such magic in the season last year that it's hard to duplicate that and win games the way they did last year. So with that, it's really hard to say what it is. I don't know what a player feels inside about being complacent. The hangover is everybody that plays you now is coming after the Super Bowl champion, so that could be an effect. So they play. There's a lot of things that you really got to consider.
Absolutely. Kez, coming off of this game as well, you then face the Dallas Cowboys, then it's a home game, then 2 more NFC East opponents. Is this do or die for the Eagles now, this next stretch of games?
Well, they have to win against the Jaguars.
You're doing it. I'm so proud of you.
They have to win there, and then they have the bye week. They've got to win their division games, and I think they can win another one against the Giants. The Redskins, I think they'll win the first one against them, which will be home. The last game of the season is in Washington. The Dallas Cowboys, there's no reason that they shouldn't win 2 there, although the one in Dallas is a late afternoon game, so we'll see what they're like. But the 2 toughest games on the schedule are New Orleans and Los Angeles, and they're at the Saints and at the Rams, so that could be really tough.
Yeah, another aspect of this team I wanted to touch on as well, if I could, is that I know the general managers, you've seen so many come and go in your time, covering the Eagles, covering the NFL. When you win a Super Bowl and you've got those players who want more money, they want to get their paycheck, you're going to lose talent. But how do you think Howie Roseman's handled this being such a young general manager? Is this a learning curve?
No, I don't think he's learning, but they understand about the cap, and it's not just this year, it's 1 and 2 years down the line when you give a player a long-term contract, depending on how they structure it. When you're better, you've got to play players more because obviously they've done a good job. And Super Bowl, if you look at history, teams that win the Super Bowl, their roster changes by 15 to 20 players. So it happens all the time, and you've got to have been good in the draft and make sure that they have the player now that they need in 2 years, or they had the players 2 years ago that they need now.
Yeah.
Sidney Jones was a draft pick. They think can be good, but he's got to stay healthy. So there's other players. They drafted offensive linemen, which Sayamalu has done a better job than people have said he's done. So you have to make sure that you're set up down the line and not just right at that time in that draft and for the next year. So it's all about the future, knowing you're going to have to pay players more money.
Absolutely. So one last question. I don't want to keep you too long.
Sure.
I know it's getting a bit cold. Jags around the corner. The Jaguars, see, we'll go full British just for this one time. What have the Eagles got to do? We know they've got a tenacious defence, but they're lacking cornerbacks this week. Is that going to be a kind of rip out the jugular mentality for Wentz?
Well, people in Philadelphia worry about run-pass ratio. You've got to pass the ball to score. So with this, I think they will pass the ball more because the Jaguars are missing some defensive backs. But the Eagles, as much as anything else, have to get turnovers. They haven't been getting. It's a simple facet of the game. You're really in the plus side by a nice number on turnovers, and you can't commit that many penalties. But turnovers is something they haven't been getting. They've got to get more. And if they do that, and they can force Blake Bortles to do the things he's been doing the last couple of weeks, then I don't think there's any question they'll win the game. But I think they're going to win the game anyway.
What's your score prediction for tomorrow's game?
24-13.
I might put money on that now, just because you're the king. This is how it rolls, right? We're going to have to do it.
And this is the country where there's royalty is more important than the United
We've
States.
got Prince Harry on the team, you know? That's all you need. Howard, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Liam, my pleasure. Thanks.
A massive thank you to Howard and for Shelby for coming on the show. What a podcast that was. I had no idea this was going to happen, so a complete curveball. But from myself, Liam Jenkins, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a completely different experience. I will see you all very soon for another episode of The Outside Insider. Make sure you like, subscribe and comment down below. We'll be back very soon.